You know what I've noticed? Technology does not just feel new when you're older. It feels personal. And I don't mean personal in the nice way, like a birthday message from your granddaughter or a photo somebody sends you out of the blue. I mean personal in the way it can make you feel embarrassed, behind, impatient with yourself, and sometimes a little foolish in your own kitchen before 9 in the morning. My name is Laura Bennett. Most people who know me call me Larita. I'm 73 years old from a small town in Ohio, and I want to talk about something that I think a whole lot of people my age feel, but do not always say out loud. People will tell you technology is hard because it changes fast, and that's true. But I don't think that's the whole truth. I think technology feels different when you're older because by this point in life, you are not just learning buttons and screens. You are trying to protect your independence, your confidence, your dignity, and your peace of mind all at the same time. And that is a very different kind of learning. I was standing in my kitchen not long ago with my reading glasses halfway down my nose, trying to sign in to one of those patient portals from my doctor's office. I had the little paper card with the password rules written down. At least I thought I did. One capital letter, one symbol, one number, no repeated passwords. And apparently, I had changed it sometime before and forgotten I changed it. So there I was, coffee getting cold on the counter, the dog scratching at the back door, and me staring at that screen like it had personally offended me. And what got to me was not even the password. It was the feeling that came over me. That sudden little drop in your stomach. That feeling of, why does this simple thing make me feel so unsure of myself? Because I am not a helpless woman. I have raised children, stretched grocery money, driven through snow, cared for sick people, kept a house going, worked when I was tired, and figured out harder things than a website. A whole lot harder. But when you're older, these little moments with technology can hit some deeper nerve. They don't just say, you need a new password. They whisper something uglier if you're not careful. They whisper, maybe the world is moving in a way that no longer includes you. Now, I know that sounds a little dramatic, but I think some of you know exactly what I mean. It's not just the phone. It's not just the computer. It's when the grocery store changes the checkout again. It's when the bank wants you to use the app instead of talking to a person. It's when your television needs 3 remotes and an update. It's when your pharmacy sends you a text, but the text sends you to a link, and the link sends you to a page, and the page asks for a code, and the code gets sent to the email you forgot to open. By the time you finally get where you were trying to go, you can't even remember what you needed in the first place. And younger people, bless them, will sometimes say, it's easy. Well, that word right there can make you feel about 2 inches tall. Because what they mean is, it's easy for me, because I grew up with this. But a lot of us grew up in a world where once you learned how something worked, it mostly kept working that way. You learned the stove, you learned the washing machine, you learned the road to the doctor's office, the way your checking account balanced, the way bills came in the mail, the way a television turned on and off. There was comfort in that. Not because we were narrow-minded, not because we couldn't adapt, but because life already asked a lot from us. So when you finally reach an age where you think maybe things might settle down a little, here comes this whole other world where nothing stays put for 6 months. You learn one system, and then they improve it. You finally remember where the button is, and then the button disappears. And after a while, I don't think the exhaustion comes from the technology itself. I think it comes from the constant requirement to begin again. That, to me, is what feels so different when you're older. When you're young, starting over can feel exciting. When you're older, starting over every week can feel like disrespect. I remember sitting alone in the parking lot outside the grocery store a few months back, trying to figure out how to get the digital coupon for a box of laundry detergent. And I just sat there with my purse on the passenger seat and my phone in my hand thinking, now how in the world did buying detergent become an exercise in software? I laughed, but I was irritated too. Not because of the coupon, really, because I could feel how much of everyday life now expects speed, constant attention, and a kind of confidence that gets harder to fake when your patience is thinner than it used to be. And there is something else nobody mentions enough. When you are older, the consequences feel heavier. A young person clicks the wrong thing and shrugs. An older person clicks the wrong thing and worries about fraud, identity theft, a bank problem, a doctor's bill, a missed appointment, or being unable to fix whatever just went wrong. That changes the whole emotional temperature of the thing. You are not exploring. You are trying not to make a mistake that will cost you sleep. That's why I get a little tired of hearing older folks talked about like we're just stubborn. Sometimes we are stubborn. I'll admit that. But sometimes we are cautious because we know what it means when something goes wrong. We know how hard it is to clean up a mess when you live on a fixed income, when your energy is not endless, when hold music feels like punishment, and when so much of modern customer service seems designed to keep you from ever speaking to an actual human being. I think that's part of it too. Technology can make you miss being helped by a person without making you feel like a burden for needing it. And that, right there, reaches deeper than people realize. Because as you get older, one of the things you start guarding very carefully is your sense of not wanting to inconvenience anybody. You don't want to keep calling your son because the TV won't connect. You don't want to ask your daughter again how to reset the password. You don't want the young cashier to sigh while you're trying to tap the card the right way. You don't want to feel managed. You don't want to feel like the room got younger and faster while you were still doing your best. I think for a long time, what embarrassed me most was not that I needed help. It was that I resented needing help. That surprised me, because I've always thought of myself as practical. If I don't know something, I'll ask. That's how I've lived most of my life. But aging changes the emotional meaning of that. When you're older, needing help can start to feel tangled up with fears you didn't have before. Fear of becoming dependent, fear of being left behind, fear that one day you won't be able to handle your own life in the ways that matter. And sometimes all those fears come rushing in over something as ridiculous as a two-step verification code. That's why I don't think this is really a conversation about gadgets. I think it's a conversation about control, about how much of your own life still feels like it belongs to you. I've had to make peace with something in the last few years. The problem is not that I am slower. The problem is that I used to think slower meant worse. And I don't believe that anymore. Sometimes slower means careful. Sometimes slower means you read what you're agreeing to. Sometimes slower means you still understand the value of attention. And truthfully, a lot of this modern world could use a little more of that. I still get frustrated, Lord knows I do. Sometimes I hand my phone to somebody and say, "Here, you do it before I throw this thing in the yard." I'm not pretending I've become some serene old woman floating above all irritation. I have not. But I have changed my mind about one thing. I no longer take every struggle with technology as evidence that something is wrong with me. Sometimes it just means the world is being designed by people who think convenience and humanity are the same thing, and they are not. A machine can make something faster. That doesn't always make it gentler, and when you're older, gentler starts to matter a whole lot. A clear button matters. A real voice on the line matters. A little patience matters. Being able to do something without feeling rushed or ashamed matters. That's why technology feels so different when you're older. Because at this age, you feel the emotional cost of things more clearly. You notice when something saves time but takes away ease. You notice when something is called progress but leaves people feeling small. And you also notice, maybe more than younger people do, that life is not actually made better by everything becoming faster and shinier and more efficient. Some things are made better by being understandable, by being steady, by being human-sized. I think that's what I've been trying to say. Maybe the deepest frustration older people have with technology is not that it is difficult. Maybe it's that so much of it forgets that a human being is on the other side of it. A human being with tired eyes, old responsibilities, a little fear, a little pride, and a whole lifetime of competence that still counts, even if she needs 10 extra minutes to log into an account. And I'll tell you something else. There is no shame in learning slowly at 73. There is no shame in writing things down. There is no shame in asking somebody to explain it one more time. There is no shame in wanting tools that respect your nervous system instead of testing it. That is not weakness. That is wisdom earned the hard way. So these days, when I run into some new update or some impossible menu or one more app that thinks it's smarter than everybody, I try to remember this. I am not failing just because I do not move at the speed of machines. I am still here. I am still capable. And I am allowed to want a life that feels manageable, not just modern. I think that is one of the quiet truths of getting older. You stop being impressed by what is merely new, and you start caring a lot more about what is actually kind. If this touched something in you, I'd really love to hear from you. Does technology ever make you feel frustrated, left behind, or just plain tired in a way younger people don't seem to understand? Or have you found your own peace with it over time? Tell me in the comments. I'd truly like to know how it feels on your side of the screen.